Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the retirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome everyone. This week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope your life is going well. Last week, Robert Bryce was back. Oh my goodness, that guy, the energy guru, robust. We're talking about the networks, but energy is so important in understanding everything that is occurring with our economy and inflation and energy and costs and Green New Deal, all that stuff. Robert Bryce is the kingpin. He's been on the show 4 times. Very fortunate to have him as a friend, and go check that one out. That was Robert Bryce, energy guru, robust. Today, got a new friend coming on. Hit it off really well with this man. This guy's definitely another brother from another mother. He's over in Minnesota. Name is Jeff Chambers. He's got some really cool things to say. Jeff Chambers has been a certified athletic trainer for 41 years. Now, the difference between, let me clarify this, because I'm a personal trainer. A certified athletic trainer is much, much different than a CPT, even though I like to say, I like to think I know what I'm doing with my stuff. But a certified athletic trainer really, they probably got a master's degree in certified athletic training, and they are like CS certified and all of that good stuff. These people know their stuff. Clinically practiced for 35 years. So not only is Jeff really very knowledgeable when it comes to the training and how to stay healthy, and if you're seeing the video, you can see the guy looks amazing. But there's other things that we're going to talk about on the show as well that are very, very important, and that's why I'm calling this one Concussion Protocols. And you'll know why here shortly. Let me finish Jeff's intro. Prior to his company of Guardian Athletics in 2017, he served as head athletic trainer for Minnesota State University for 16 years. Congratulations on that, Jeff.
Thank you.
Attained his education in athletic training at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Big Ten. Graduated with a bachelor's degree in secondary education, majors in physical education. Yeah. Okay. He's an NATA accredited athletic training education program in 1983. Got his master's degree in 1985. So all of this stuff. I'm going to make this real quick because I want to get to Jeff and let him start talking, because he's got a lot to say. And if you have young athletes, if you have grandchildren or children, or you have whatever, people, this is an episode with this concussion stuff. We're going to talk about what Jeff has invented. For 26 years, Jeff has been researching and evaluating I'm going to say this, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, brachial, is that right?
Brachial
plexus injury to understand prevention methods beyond neck strengthening. We're going to talk about specifically Guardian Athletics and the KATO collar, KATO. Jeff invented this very, very interesting device for football players. And I'm going to let him describe the whole process. So he is the founder of Guardian Athletics. It's an innovative driven sports company. This very niche kind of thing. He's dedicated to player safety. He's dedicated to our athletes, and he's dedicated to helping people understand what's going on with the anatomy of your head when you get whacked. And I mean, you could be in a car, you could be playing soccer, you could be doing anything. I mean, we're moving around all the time. So without any much further ado, I want to welcome to the show my new brother from another mother. Going to be a good one, everybody. So stick around. Jeff Chambers. Jeff, sorry about the long intro there, but I had to get a few things in for you. So how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm great. Yeah, no worries at all. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for asking me to be on your show.
My pleasure. Well, the first thing we got to do before we talk about This Is Your Life and Your Family, you got to talk about Mike. I mean, talk about Mike. I met how you and I connected. Let's give him a little bit of love. He hasn't been on the program yet, but
Mike Draheim was an athlete at the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh when I was there. I was there from 90 to 99. And Mike was a track athlete. Great, very, very good 800-meter runner. And he got interested in athletic training. So he came and talked to me about being, at the time we called them student athletic trainers. In fact, they were basically assistant athletic trainers. They helped in the athletic training room because it was me. I had one part-time assistant that also coached softball. So the student athletic trainers, athletic training students, were the ones that helped me take care of the athletes. And certified athletic trainers, the biggest difference between certified athletic trainers and certified personal trainers is athletic trainers deal with healthcare. We are really the first wave as a healthcare professional that takes care of athletes when they get injured. And in fact, once they go to college and they come participate in sports, they usually come to us with everything. I mean, everything. They come to us with their illnesses, and we get them to the physician, that type of thing. We're considered healthcare professionals. First wave of care, training, a lot of training on emergency medical training to take care acute of emergency situations, acute injury care situations. Somebody sprains their ankle in the normal population, it may take them 3 days to get in to see the orthopedic physician, orthopedic surgeon, doctor. We take care of these kids right away. We start treating them, doing the rehab right away. So
there you go. There's a good explanation of the difference, and that's very, very succinctly done. And again, Mike, enough said about you, bro. We'll talk about you later. All right. We're going to get to Jeff here. Jeff, talk about your family. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes to go in this segment, but talk about the family and you specifically, would you please?
Yeah, my family is, I've got a son that's 34 years old, a daughter that's 31. And my daughter is married, lives in Madison, Wisconsin, and I became a grandpa over Christmas.
Congratulations.
So we've got a little granddaughter by the name of Daphne Val that my wife will be going and seeing next week, a week from this weekend. So, yeah, excited about that. My son's out in Sacramento, California, and he's a software engineer. Works for a company called Exano.
What about your wife?
My wife, we've been married for, I better get this right, 43 years. And she still works. She works at a place called Hubbard, a company from Alltech, and helps set up basically a lot of orders and works with smaller, distributors of animal feed. So a lot of cattle, pigs, animals, sets up the trucks and the orders for those people.
Interesting. All right. So take the next couple minutes and I'll give you the signal when we get close, Jeff, about where we're going to drive this episode, because there's a lot to be baked in. We can talk about the health and wellness and all of that kind of stuff. And,
right.
But please go ahead and explain where you see this as my subject matter expert with Guardian Athletics and the KATO Collar, and what else you'd like to discuss and share with the listeners. Go ahead, please.
Well, I'm hoping in this segment that we can educate the public with regards to the mechanism of injury that occurs for, not only, you mentioned in the beginning, brachial plexus injuries, which are quote unquote burner stinger in layman's terms, and also the concussion, sport related concussion. And I'm hoping, we're not going to talk a lot about like protocols with regards to care, healthcare, or rehab. What we're going to talk about is specific mechanisms that cause injury to the brain, and how God designed our brain inside our skull to protect itself.
There you go.
And I think we've got some things that need to be cleared up.
We absolutely do. So get ready, everybody. We're going to go to break here. I'm going to reset this thing. My guest today is Jeff Chambers. Calling this one Concussion, Protocols, KATO Collar, however you want to go with it. KATO. Stick around because you're going to want to hear all of this, the backstory of why, as a athletic trainer for over 40 years, so he's seen his fair share of athletes, that is for sure, at the college level, at a very high level of college athletics. You're going to want to listen to this because there's some misconceptions out there, and we're going to set some stuff straight on this episode. Coming up next, Jeff Chambers, Concussion Protocols, KATO Collar. This is the Tom Matt Show.
This segment of the Tom Matt Show is brought to you in part by the Source of Light and Power by band leader Archibald and broadcaster Mitch Anderson. Hear the sound that is endorsed by Odyssey headphones, linear tube audio, RME converters, and Peluso microphones at sourceoflightandpower.bandcamp.com.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. Thank you for joining us this week. Remember, the second segment of our radio program is just so gratefully sponsored by Craig Stiles and Ameriprise Financial. We are very, very choosy with our sponsors for this program. We are in our 14th season now, and I have gone through lots of different ideas, thoughts, monetization plans for our radio program. You know what it came down to, everybody? It just came down to just doing good things. And I needed to find good people and quit worrying so much about money and worry about our content. And so I switched gears in my head about 5 years ago, maybe longer. And it really came to be because of Craig Stiles and Ameriprise Financial, because having him validate our efforts by helping us financially is massive. So that's why I need you guys to really check out Craig. We're going to be doing some video stuff together here real soon. But with the right financial advisor like a Craig Stiles, life can be brilliant. And again, full disclosure, we have all of our retirement zone savings with Craig. He manages it. He is our subject matter expert for the financial fitness. He is our financial fitness guru. So he's got almost 30 episodes, 30 shows on our website. You can check out all the different topics we've talked about when it comes to financial stuff, because it's very important to have that stuff dialed in and understand. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. Call Craig at 1-800-528-1355. His local number is 517-483-4893. His email is craig.stiles@ampf.com. His offices are located at 2651 Coolidge Road, Suite 103, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823. Stations that have carried us in the past. Of course, you know, we have the Michigan Talk Network carrying us all over the Midwest. But we also have WGHN carried us for a long time in Grand Haven. WGIM 1240 AM in Lansing is the flagship of the Michigan Talk Network, carrying us on weekends multiple times all over the place. WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids carried us for a long time. Muskegon Whitehall has WKLQ 1490 AM, WYPV FM 94.5 in Mackinac City. And of course, WKR Michigan State University, our PBS affiliate, AM 870 News Talk, and simulcast at 102.3 FM. They're in East Lansing, Michigan. Again, thank you to Craig Stiles for creating Desideri Analytics, where we are making light of weighted decisions. And last, I'd like to say thank you again to Steve and Ivy Gruber. They're the best. They carry us on the Michigan Talk Network. They're the owners of the Michigan Talk Network, and they're the most talented people when it comes to media that I know. Steve Gruber is a rock star. Anyways, back to our show today. This is a big one, everybody. We're talking to Jeff Chambers. Jeff Chambers is the founder of Guardian Athletics, and he has been a certified athletic trainer for a long, long, long time, most of his life. And I'm calling this one Concussion Protocol's KATO collar for a reason. Now, we're going to get into how Jeff came up with this design. First, we got to set the stage of his story, because he has worked. We talked just briefly in the previous segment about how Jeff was a college athletic trainer for most of his career. Jeff, you've also done work with the professionals too. How has that impacted your work with the design of the KATO collar and implementing these things? So please go right ahead. I took a long time on that one, but go ahead. I'm going to give you the rest of the segment to kind of set things up here. But talk about the professionals that you work with.
No worries. I was the head athletic trainer for the Philadelphia Stars in the United States Football League. And then last year, the UFL and the XFL combined. I became the head athletic trainer for the Michigan Panthers. This year, I'll be an assistant athletic trainer for the Michigan Panthers, the United Football League. But it's going to that level and working with the athletes. You know, people always ask me that, you know, what's it like going to the UFL? I come back and I work with some college athletes around in the area and also some high school athletes providing coverage. And their injuries are the same. No matter what level they occur at, injuries are the same. And you learn with the different populations, you know, people in life, how to speak to them about their injuries, talk to them. But, you know, I've been a certified athletic trainer now for since 1985. So it's been about 40 years now. And I love dealing with that population. And, you know, one of the greatest rewards is helping people stay on the field or get back to the field after injury. And that's basically how I came up with the idea for KATO collar. Is I had an athlete in 1998 at UW Oshkosh. Every time his head went left, back at an angle like this, he would get quote unquote, a burner stinger down his left arm. We did all the stuff the literature said for a year. This happened in 97. He didn't play his last game as a junior in 97. We did all the tests, couldn't find anything at that time, MRIs, scans that would keep him from playing football. So we did all the rehab, everything. I put him into a collar, one of, quote, the best collars out there at the time. And he came back out his senior year, second day of contact practice, took on a block. He played linebacker, about 6'3", 250, 260, perfect condition. Neck was a V, had worked all year. We'd done all the rehab, all the strength. He took on a hit. His head went left, and I watched it at least 24 times on film. It looked like somebody shot him. He went down. We walk off the field. He says, I can't play football like this. Been playing since he's in the third grade. Had a conversation with my Lord that night. Lord, my job's to help him keep playing. How do I keep him playing? It was like the Lord asked me, so, well, what do you need to do? Well, the only way to do it is stop it. Because we did everything else. And the idea came to my head. A collar which lays back flat that would that players would wear because they had full motion, but would slow it down, allow for full active range of motion, but slow it down after impact.
Okay, Jeff, hold on a second now. Hold up there, because we have video going and we have audio too. Describe to the listeners what the KATO collar looks like, because when people hear your description, they're going to probably recognize, because they've probably seen it on TV.
In fact, I got one right here. Okay, what it does different than other collars is it lays flat behind the head. So we designed it so that it comes back flat behind the head, so everybody has the full active range of motion. The injuries occur when your head is whipped or forced beyond the passive range of motion. I can move your neck 20 to 30% farther if I lay you on a table and move it around than you can on your own. So God's designed the neck to move so far. Passively, it can move 20 to 30% farther than you can move it. That's where the injuries occur, when it's forced beyond that range to both the neck and, in my theory of how the brain moves, to the brain. That's where it's injured.
All right, so hold that thought right there, because we're going to come up on break here. Let me reset. See, this is where we're going, everybody. The KATO collar is a device that Jeff invented as an athletic trainer for over 40 years. He just got the story. You just heard the story of an athlete that he helped, a very fit. I mean, I've been around athletes like this for a long time in my life too. These young men, young women, they're beasts. I mean, these college athletes, they're strong. So they're really put together. So it's not like they're out of shape. And so Jeff came up with this idea, getting a divine intervention from whomever, whatever, and came up with the KATO collar. And we're calling this one Concussion Protocols, KATO collar, KATO. And when we come back, we're going to start going into a little bit of anatomy with Jeff, talking about what the heck's going on. Because you can design the helmet all you want, but there's other things happening. Again, Jeff Chambers is here, Concussion Protocols, a KATO collar. This is the Tom Mann Show.
Thank you again to our Segment 2 sponsor, Craig Stiles of Ameriprise Financial. For more information on services provided by Craig, please visit ameripriseadvisors.com/Craig.Stiles or by calling 517-483-4893. You're tuned in to the Tom Mann Show.
Welcome to the Tom Mann Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Having a great episode with Jeff Chambers today, talking about concussion protocols and the KATO collar, KATO. Before we get back into the conversation about anatomy and what the heck's going on with your head and neck and your body when a concussion occurs in athletics, I got to remind you of our sponsor of this segment is our brother, another brother from another mother, Brock Fletcher. I'm talking to him this week too. Oh, guy's awesome. Brock Fletcher, the selling team of Keller Williams Realty. His middle name is Trust. Again, full disclosure, as I said, because sponsors are important to us and we're very, very picky about our sponsors because we utilize their services. Brock Fletcher, Mike Dedman, they helped us with Big House Holt when we peeled that place and helped us buy Little House Lansing, where I'm recording this episode today. And having friends like that is awesome. Also, Brock is our subject matter expert for the reality of real estate. So it's really, really good to have these people in our library of friends who can just guide us. I mean, you got to have people like it's my guest today, Jeff Chambers, another guy. You got to talk to these experts. I just bring them to you. All right. The experts come out and share their knowledge. That's why you want to call Brock, 517-853-6408. This is the main, that's the office number. The main number is 517-303-3262. They're all good numbers, but the 303-3262, 303-3262 is Brock's cell phone number. Text him. Tell him you heard it from Tommy. That way he knows his money's getting a little bang for his buck with his sponsorship, and he'll always take care of you. Or you can go online to kwsellingteam.com. You can go to our website, tommattshow.com, because we have banners at the bottom of the homepage for Craig and for Brock and for other friends that you want to click right on through. We want to make things so simple for you as Brock does, as Craig does. That's why we have our sponsors. Most agents start marketing after you list with them, and that's a fact. Brock has been investing. He's been investing with us. That's why he invests. That's why you want to go with Brock. And that's why you want to call 517-303-3262, kwsellingteam.com. The man's name is Brock Fletcher. All right, I guess today, everybody, is Jeff Chambers. Talking concussion protocols, KATO collar. Yeah, thank Mike Draham. Is it Draham? Draham? How do you spell?
Draham.
I want to thank Draham. Sorry, yeah. Mike, I'm brutalizing your last name, but I met Mike Draham, through my grandchildren in Wisconsin. And we've been talking for several months now because my grandkids are going to his Accelerate, which we're going to get Mike on the show. And you want to get a guy another guy who knows his athletic stuff. Mike's the guy. He's really, he's got an awesome gym over in Wisconsin. And so I've been over there many times now. And that's how I met Jeff, because he said, well, you need to get this guy on. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Talk to Jeff. And Jeff is just like, we're like two peas in a pod. I mean, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. This is going to be awesome. Okay. So far we talked about the beginning of the KATO collar, your career, Jeff, and everything that's been going on. But let's get into the anatomy thing, because this is a big portion of why you are the founder of the KATO collar and Guardian Athletics. So let's start from square one. What is the misconceptions that people have out there about concussions?
Well, I describe it to people simply by telling them, I said, when you went through anatomy class, what are the pictures you saw? You saw a brain. You saw the two cerebral hemispheres, the cerebellum, and the brainstem, the parts of the brain. That's what they showed you. That's what they pictured as the brain. In reality, there are also three membranes that go around the brain, which house things. The outside membrane is called the dura mater. The dura mater is right next to the inferior surface of your skull. So when people start talking about the brain, they talk about, we've been educated, the brain bounces, it floats, it sloshes. Some people even now say, well, the brain moves in a wave. Other people say the brain's trying to catch up to the skull. The brain is completely separate from your head. God designed our brains with a skull around it, so there would never be a direct contact to the brain. Okay, and they describe contacts that cause concussion as direct impacts and indirect impacts. Indirect impacts are blows to the body, which cause the head to move violently, whiplash. Direct contacts are direct contact, helmet to helmet contacts, helmet to body contact, helmet to the turf contact.
Can I ask you a question real quick, Jeff? Because I'm getting questions in my head. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the percentages of the indirect versus the direct, because people are thinking concussions are always like a collision. Do you have any like a rough estimate of what that would be? How many indirect versus direct?
I do not, and I've never seen anything on it, and I've tried to find it. You know what I'm saying? There's very little out there about what's going on.
Got it. Okay. You're the guy who would know. That's what I'm saying. You're the guy that would know. Right. And if you're saying, I don't know.
Kind of how I got my idea for KATO collar. Also, I had the design of a designer for brachial plexus, how I figured out that it would also work for concussion. And it is. And so you watch how they test it, and that head rocks back and forth with the pneumatic devices, and that type of thing. But when you hit helmet to helmet, Your head, the design of a helmet is to absorb force and decelerate that movement, bringing the head helmet to zero velocity, which it does, and it does well. The kicker is we have been led to believe that the brain comes to zero velocity at the same time. We've been led to believe that that brain bounces into that skull. Well, the front side of the brain with the dura mater, which contains all the cerebral spinal fluid and the ventricles that flow through it, the fluid flows through, is part of the design to absorb forces. So that brain was already in contact. It can't bounce off. The backside compresses. All the experts describe our brain as being constituted like jello. Okay? So if you picture jello with fluid running through it and spaces in there, it's allowed to move. That's how God designed our brain to absorb force. The only force that's elicited is the force that's elicited to the parts of the brain that I described to you. So the brain is designed to absorb its own kinetic energy of motion. That's what causes the forces, its own kinetic energy of motion. So now you get this compression. People talk about the brain bouncing. The brain doesn't change directions till the head does. So now the head pushes it in the opposite direction. And it's pushing on this side, which they call the coup side. And now it's pushing the coup side back toward the contra coup side. That head whips. Now, when that head whips, this side's separated. This side's not caught up to it. It's because it was separated, and it's 3.3 pounds being pushed by 12 to 13 pounds. So the momentum of the head is greater than the momentum of the brain. It has to push the brain. So when it whips, it stops and comes back and strikes the brain and starts pushing it the other direction. That continues to happen until the head stops.
When I talked to Jeff, everybody in our pre-show, I was like one of the know-nothings. And I like to think I know a few things because I've been doing this for a while and I've read a lot of books on brains and Alzheimer's and everything. And we'll talk about Alzheimer's later. My question to Jeff was, well, just exactly what he just said. Well, I've always read that the brain is like sloshing around. And no, it's not. Right, Jeff? I mean, that's the thing. It's compressing.
I do not believe it is. And I don't believe anybody can say it is because we've never been able to put a camera inside the brain.
Right.
I believe my theory of brain movement is much more accurate than what people have put out there. That's what I.
This is the nuance, everybody. This is the difference, and this is where we're going. We're going to talk about athletics. We're not here to slam helmets at all. I'm going to ask Jeff some questions about helmets and how we can make helmets better or not or whatever. I mean, that's down the road here. We got to get this anatomy thing dialed in though, because if we are going to be performance living people, like one of my episodes, and we're going to get Dr. Avellino on with us, our pediatric neurosurgeon, with Jeff, and we're going to do a three-way here down the road here for sure and talk about these things because these types of injuries can precipitate other issues down the road for people and they don't even know it's happened. And so we're going to talk all about it because that's where they come up with the dementia, Alzheimer's stuff, and they don't know how to talk about this. Jeff Chambers is here. You're listening to Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to our Segment 3 sponsor, White Law PLLC, where justice meets compassion. White Law is your advocate in times of need. We are here to listen, support, and fight for what you deserve. Contact White Law today for your free consultation. Visit us at whitelawpllc.com or call 517-777-9785.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying today's episode with my guest today, Jeff Chambers. Jeff is the founder and designer of the KATO collar, KATO, and Guardian Athletics, okay? And he comes from a well-defined background with his history, with his experience of over 40 years as an athletic trainer in college at the professional level. Talked about all that. If you've missed any portion of this episode, go back, get the podcast, check it out, TomMattShow.com. Jeff, I'd like to give you a couple opportunities to share your contact info if people want to get a hold of you for speaking engagements or appearances on podcasts or whatever. I mean, getting your advice. How would you like people to connect with you?
The best two ways to connect with me are my email address, which is Jeff at guardianathletics.com. Guardian Athletics, all one word. Or call me, 507-384-8229. And when you do call me, if I don't answer, because I also work, and please leave a message about what you're calling me for, and I will get back to you. I return all calls to anybody that leaves me a message.
There you go. There you go, everybody. All right. So before we jump back into the final part of the anatomy for the KATO collar concussion protocols thing, I just wanted to go with Jeff and just talk to him about what else you have going, because we all refire, and you obviously are refiring. I mean, and this is what I try when I find stories like this. I like to get that word out, because that's our part of our branding. It's like, you are not retired, you are refired. There is no question about that.
Yes. No, it's so true.
How do you like being refired?
I love it most of the time. No, it's interesting. I was an athletic trainer at the college level until 2017. And then I have been working, and we're still going, Guardian Athletics, KATO collar, put a lot of time into that over the next 5 years. Working odd jobs to help keep paying the bills to keep going. We're still trying to raise our second round of capital, but then getting the opportunity to go back to the professional level and athletic training after being out of it. It's all of this has kept me going. It's my mission to get KATO collar and people to see how we protect the head and the neck. And it's also been so awesome to go back and, being offered a job at the United Football League and working with professional athletes. I'm still learning. Life to me is about learning.
There you go. Good advice. And that's the thing. That's where I smile when I hear all of this talk about, if you're going to stay in the best shape of your life and you're going to live long, die short, like some of my guests talk about, you got to put time into yourself, and you've got to listen to people like, hey, Jeff Chambers, you got to refire. If you're going to retire, you're going to get tired. If you refire, you're going to get refired. That's all there is to it.
Amen.
All right. So finish. You got a really cool story. We're still talking about the anatomy stuff, everybody. We're calling this one Concussion Protocols, KATO collar. Jeff, again, is an athletic trainer for over 40 years at the college division, high division 2 and division 1 levels, and in the professional levels. So the guy knows his stuff. I mean, he's been around tremendous athletes. I mean, division 2 athletes, division 1. If you get a scholarship or you play ball in college, you're good. Okay. Men and women, period. Okay. So anybody that's thinking about, well, we got a D3 offer, and go get your education.
Amen.
If you want to play, go D3. And even if you're not even in division 3, go, because you're only going to have a small window to play your sport, and then you got to get on with your life. Right, Jeff? I mean,
that's great advice. Take advantage of it and play.
Play.
Kids love, players love to play. Whatever level you play at, they play hard.
Right.
I mean, Division 3, Division 2, whatever. They're still playing hard, and they're still trying to be the best they can be.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Oh, yeah. And the athletes nowadays, I mean, the kids, the next time you come back, we'll talk about how these kids have progressed and how much better and bigger and stronger and all of the things that are going into it. But before, let's finish the thread of the anatomy thing. You had a really cool story about NASCAR. So go ahead and share that story. You got plenty of time here. Go ahead, bro.
No problem. It's interesting because I believe NASCAR's proved that minimizing movement of the head helps prevent brain injury and neck injury. They've eliminated catastrophic head and neck injuries with the Hans device, strapping them into the chair in a cage, because they're absorbing with the crash theory, absorb crumble zone, absorbing the force. That's what helmets do. Helmets were devices is based on that crumple zone theory to absorb the force. Now, you've got 6-8 feet to absorb force in a car. You're in a cage, your head's strapped in. That's a sport where they can participate and limit movement of the head. You got people talking in your ears on a radio, their head only moves so much up and down, side to side. Can't do that in most sports. So you've got to allow for full active range of motion because it protects from injury in all other areas. So the helmets are trying to do that, absorb force and bring the head to zero velocity. I describe what we do as KATO collar of we're the airbag. You know what I'm saying? We're slowing it down on the backside. You know, the airbag slows your head movement down, moving forward in a car accident. We slow the head down on the backside to reduce the force to the brain when it whips, which is created by its own kinetic energy of motion. The first direct hit to the brain was when it comes back and hits the inferior surface. Well, you can't limit head movement in sport. You can't make it so they can't move their head. They can't protect the rest of the body. Plus, you're setting them up for a catastrophic neck injury on contact. So we allow for that movement, prevent it from going to the end to prevent head and neck injury. Therefore, we're protecting on the backside. Helmets are only in contact for 15 milliseconds. That's when they work. That's when they protect the head and the brain. After that, they provide no protection. And what I'm trying to do with KATO collar is slow down the head after direct and indirect impacts to prevent all the forces that continue to work on the brain after that. If we slow it down on the backside, we bring the head to a stop sooner. That's the next best thing to eliminating the head from movement, because your head, in my opinion, has to move or your brain reacts to whatever movement your head does to get injured. So on contact, it's deceleration. Then it accelerates going back. The brain gets accelerated. Now we have to decelerate it on the backside also to prevent injury. That's the next best thing as what NASCAR has done to prevent the head from moving. They still get their bells rung in NASCAR. I mean, because that speed they're moving and they come to a stop, your brain's still going to move inside your head when it comes to a stop. It's still going to compress, but there's not the force going back. It comes back, so it comes to a stop sooner. And that kinetic energy of motion of the brain comes to a stop sooner.
Let me ask you a question, Jeff. We're going to come up on break here, and we can maybe come back and finish the thread, this question here, because I just thought of this as you're describing all this. Again, let me reset this. I will carry this through to break. Jeff Chambers is our guest today. Concussion protocols, the KATO collar, talking about athletics, football specifically, but all kinds of different ideas about why concussions occur, the misconceptions of concussions. When you're in a car and you have a nice car with a headrest behind you, isn't that the same kind of concept to keep your head from bouncing back? Is the KATO collar? Isn't that the same similar kind of concept? Correct? Am I correct?
Yes. Except we're absorbing it on that backside and not blocking it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
When sometimes if you come back and it blocks it, comes to abrupt stop. We're slowing it down. That's one of the things that helmet companies have kind of talked negatively about KATO collar, where you're blocking motion, so you're increasing force momentum to the neck.
Okay. Hold that thought. When we come back, I want to talk about helmet companies. I want to talk about helmet design. We're not here to slam helmets. Let's make that perfectly clear right now. So no lawsuits coming at us saying helmets are worthless, because they're obviously not. They do a very, very important purpose. But the design, the thoughts, the whole thing. I mean, when the face mask came out in the 50s and the 60s, I mean, people nowadays, probably kids nowadays, probably never realize that back in the day, way back before my time, football players played with no face mask. So there's always an evolution coming. We're going to talk more about this. We're going to talk about helmets and more anatomy, more concussion, how we can help people understand this. This is such a huge topic. Jeff Chambers is my guest. Concussion protocols, KATO, KATO, collar. This is the Tom Mann Show.
Thank you again to our segment 4 sponsor, Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Mann Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tom Matt Show. Jeff Chambers is my guest today. Guardian Athletics founder, and he is the creator of the KATO, K-A-T-O collar, talking about concussion protocols and the KATO collar, the misconceptions of concussions, the mechanics of injury. We've covered a lot of turf here, and I'm so looking forward to getting Jeff back here down the road. We are definitely going to set up a three-way with Dr. Avellino, our pediatric neurosurgeon, Jeff Chambers, the founder of Guardian Athletics and the KATO collar, and me, and talk about brains. And we'll get the doctor's perspective and the athletic trainer's perspective and the creator of the collar. Jeff, how would you like people to get a hold of you? How would you like, again, we had that in the previous segment, but again, give everybody your phone number, website, talk about your website, by the way, is really nice. Really nice.
Thank you. We've got it back up and running pretty good now. It was hacked and it was down for about 3 months. So it's back up and running. Best to learn more about the collar, go to www.guardianathletics.com. It will come up Guardian Athletics /KATO collar. You'll see, and go to that website. My email address is jeff@guardianathletics.com, and my phone number is 507-384-8229, 8229, 507-384-8229. And if I don't answer, leave a message. I will get back to you. I'll read the message. I still work, but I will get back to you. So leave a message if you're interested in learning more about my company, Guardian Athletics, my safety device, KATO collar, or even if you want to know more about me.
Okay, I want to try to tie this together here. Jeff Chambers, our guest today, everybody, talking about the KATO collar. I would be remiss if we didn't talk about CTE, and we're going to talk about helmets. So let's kind of blend this together, because CTE, I'd like you to tell the story of CTE and how CTE has been around forever. We just have a name for it. But that story you told me in our pre-show about the naming of that condition was pretty interesting. But go ahead. Let's talk about that and then tie in the helmet, how the helmet has evolved, and how, with those covers they put on helmet, all that. We'll talk about it. Go right ahead.
Well, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, was basically came out with a model. Most of you have seen the movie Concussion, or a lot of you have. And he named the disease CTE. And from what I heard from other people, CTE has been around for a long time. It's what probably is what caused injuries in boxers. Subconcussive blows, repeated subconcussive blows is what is the cause, not necessarily even concussions. We know when somebody gets a concussion. The brain's going to move with subconcussive blows also. So from what I hear, there are several different, I don't know if you want to call it levels of CTE, but it's about the tau protein in the brain, in the nerve fibers, which get damaged.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Can I ask you a question real quick, Jeff? Those subconcussive blows that you just mentioned, those probably can accumulate, and they precipitate probably the ongoing or the upcoming concussion, potential concussion, right? So it's like
right.
That's what you're saying with these continued blows. They could be like below the level of knocking you out, but they add up.
Right. And I've heard people say that, there are military people that have been diagnosed with CTE. It's just not football that has CTE. And I believe that, we used to call it in boxing punch drunk syndrome. I also believe that we have an increase in early Alzheimer's in our society by what I read. And so it's, a lot of emphasis has been put on football causing this, and I'm not saying that it doesn't. I mean, there's research and evidence that shows that, but we also have early Alzheimer's in other populations besides just football. And so I think that needs to be investigated. Are there other things that are helping cause this, or that are causing this?
Let me ask you a quick question too, man. All these questions keep coming in my head. You know how parents have become a little leery of letting their kids participate in football, but what you're describing is, if you were to go play lacrosse, or you're going to play soccer, or you're going to concussion potentials are in all sports. And so it's there, right? So I don't know I would think that if you're worried about your kid playing junior Pop Warner football or something like that, that maybe you want to have a KATO collar on their shoulder pads for them to protect them as young people, right? I'm just guessing.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I would love to have helmets do what they do, and they do it very, very, very well. And they protect the head, they protect the skull, they protect skull fracture, catastrophic brain injury, but they can only operate for 15 milliseconds. So we've got to work on the brain after that. I would love to be able to put KATO collar on youth, but we can't make a collar small enough to fit in their shoulder pads with the size of helmets. I still believe that the helmets in youth are too heavy. They're too big. Heavier helmets have been shown to absorb impact better, which is why helmets have gotten heavier. They absorb impact better than what we had with the straps and air earlier. We've got foam that's better absorbing. So they've improved, but they also have added weight. So when you think about what happens after impact, increased weight is going to increase momentum, which is going to increase speed of movement of the head helmet after impact. And so that's why it's so important that we come up with a safety system that includes helmets, shoulder pads, and a mechanism that slows down the head and helmet after impact, which that's what I designed KATO collar to do, even for brachial plexus, to slow the head down, not block it, but to slow it down. Because if you block it, it comes to an abrupt stop. You're doing basically, you're not absorbing it. You're not giving it time to slow down and then move back. And we're slowing down the head helmet over a longer period of time, the brain over a longer period of time than you can do with just wearing a head helmet.
So when the design of helmets over time has continued to evolve, athletes have continued to evolve. Athletes are getting bigger, stronger, faster all the time. I mean, these athletes are so tremendous. And it's like, has the equipment kept pace? I mean, it seems like a KATO collar, you would want that on every player that can fit their shoulder pads. And it's like a face mask. Do you see any players out there today not wearing a face mask?
No. And that's my goal. My goal is to show that slowing down, decelerating the head helmet after impact is just as important as absorbing force and trying to slow it down upon impact. And that's the goal. I would love this to eventually be required in all high school football players, because then we're protecting the brain after impact. We're providing a better level of protection for the brain on all hits that occur in football.
So could parents, could parents, because a lot of this, the way athletics has evolved, you and I both, we're from the same generation. And it's like nowadays, parents are funding more and more of the cost of all of this participation, the practicing and all this stuff. Parents could go buy this. They could decide they want their kid to wear this. Yes. And they can purchase it. And it works with, it's agnostic with all helmets. You know what I'm saying? So it works. We have a large and a medium-sized collar. Medium fits all, small, medium adult shoulder pads. And our large fits all, large through triple extra large adult shoulder pads. So I would rather see parents spend $250 on our collar to slow the head helmet down afterwards than go buy these helmets that way more, and they're spending $600, $700, $800 on. The top 20 helmets in the NFL testing are pretty much the same. They don't explain the differences in them because it's insignificant. Jeff, I got to ask you real quick because we're going to run out of time here, but those little bubble things they put on top of the helmets now, are those helping?
I don't want to fault anybody they're trying to absorb more force on impact. So do they help on impact? Yes, I believe they help. I do believe they add weight, so it increases it afterwards. but increases the momentum. But what they're trying to do is on all of those is add increased time of contact on the head helmet to absorb more force so that the brain takes longer to, shorter time of compression. The kicker is you got to realize when that head helmet comes to zero velocity, no matter that came to zero velocity, whatever the brain was moving at does not come to zero velocity at the same time. It just doesn't happen. It's still compressing.
There you go. It's like, okay, well, it's like a train. It's like a train hitting a vehicle, unfortunately, and it takes miles for it to stop. I mean, it's just, think of it that way, everybody. There's lots of analogies. Okay, Jeff, I need a 30-second takeaway. Thank you so much for being with us. This was awesome. I'm going to definitely have you back. Give me a 30-second takeaway, would you please?
The 30-second takeaway from me on KATO Collar is that people need to realize that the brain continues to have forces on it after impact. And we have to start going beyond the helmet to protect the brain.
Perfect. Jeff Chambers has been our guest today. Concussion Protocols, KATO. Check it out. Thanks to everyone for listening, watching the show. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thanks again to Sandy, Craig, Brock, Jeff Chambers for being with us. Have a great week, everybody. Go out and enjoy your life and ignite your life. I want to thank lastly, Mitch Anderson and Vanessa. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. We are out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Arc of All.